It was a lovely Sunday morning, and I was headed straight for the Malecon for a stroll along the seawall. It was one of those mornings where I didn't really have a plan, but I was headed somewhere, and I'd figure it out when I got there. So with that spirit in mind, I decided to wander west. Walking along the Malecon, I couldn't help but notice the ocean and how calm it was, not a wave to be seen. While I was appreciating the peacefulness of the moment, something caught my eye. The Hotel Nacional de Cuba. I had only driven by it up to this point during my stay, so I wanted to get an up-close and personal experience of the 90-year-old hotel. I continued my walk along the Malecon, enjoying the sunshine, calm ocean, and fishermen along the way. It wasn't long before I found myself atop the hill the hotel sits on and did the first thing that popped in my mind. Get a drink. I went for my favorite cocktail that I had so far in Cuba, one that I had never heard of until traveling to this island. Quinchanchala, or as the locals call it, the Silent Killer. A delicious rum drink made with lime juice and honey. Simple, yet delicious. In fact, I'm about to go make one right now. I sat in the gardens of the hotel atop the hill it was on, looking out over the ocean and city, drinking my Silent Killers. Life was good. I had a great view of the ocean and the Malecon that stretched all the way back down to El Morro Castle at the mouth of the bay. It began to get a little toasty, but the clouds, along with the breeze coming off the sea, made for this great Goldilocks zone of just right. Once I got a few quinchanchallas in me, I decided it was time to do a little exploring around the grounds to see what else I could find. It didn't take long for me to spot some tunnels carved into the hill the hotel sits on. Come to find out, the tunnels are where Fidel Castro and Che Guevara set up their headquarters during the Cuban Missile Crisis to prepare the defense of La Habana from an aerial attack. As we all know, that never happened, but it was eerie nonetheless, walking around knowing what could have been. I continued my walk around the grounds. After spending some time here, you can really understand why this place is a national monument. This area has its own rich history before the hotel was even erected in 1930. During the Spanish-American War, the Santa Clara Battery was established in the very spot I was standing. In fact, two of the battery's cannons still remain to this day and stay pointed at the ocean, offering a menacing warning. I meandered my way around the gardens, catching glimpses of the sea and the towering hotel that stretched up 8 stories into the sky. I couldn't help but to think about how much has changed in the hotel over the years. Although it was renovated back in the early 90s, the aesthetic of the hotel and the grounds are really what they were so many years ago. I'd have flashes of times past, gangsters, politicians, and movie stars gathering here to gamble, drink, and dance the night away. Cuba's notorious 1950s classic car zoomed by on the Malecon just below me, and the wind brought the smell of something delicious that started to make my stomach growl. I went to find the nearest place to get some lunch and recharge for the afternoon ahead, which included multiple shots of espresso. I got a delightful pork dish. That, combined with the coffee, hit the spot, and I made my way back down to the city. Traveling in a big circle, I left Vedado and hit the streets of Centro Habana as afternoon clouds started to settle in along with a few sprinkles of rain. Like clockwork, pop-up showers happened almost the same time every day, but they would disappear as quickly as they showed. One of the things I loved most about exploring the narrow streets of La Habana was there's always something new. Every street had its own unique fingerprint, not one being the same, and it seemed as if they stretched on for miles. It became a daily routine to get lost on purpose, as if I was mapping the city by myself, using my own internal compass, letting my intuition guide me. At this point in time, my intuition, and also the offline map on my phone, was guiding me back towards Habana Vieja as I was meeting up with a group of people to do some exploring in the old city and take some photos. I had about half an hour to kill, so I decided to go back to one of my favorite views of the city and grab a few mojitos. Because why not? The Caribbean sun was out in full force once more, and after a few drinks, it was time for me to make my way to meet some new friends and explore some new places. Meeting at the Mas Habana bar, we enjoyed a few quinchanchallas and tapas before we hit the streets of La Habana Vieja. Lisi and Violetta were two locals who took their time to not only show us around the oldest part of the city, but guided us to places I never would have explored without them. Not only that, but I was able to learn more about the city, its history, and what life was like for the average Cubano. Weaving in and out of old buildings and zigzagging through the narrow streets, we continued to tread our way through the old city. While sharing with us about the history of La Habana Vieja, Lisi and Violetta challenged us to take unique photos. They have a great tour called Wandering Havana. Say what's up, Violetta. That was for anyone who not only wanted to learn more about the city, but take pictures with a group of strangers in a fun, engaging way. The best part about it, again, was being able to explore areas of the city I never would have been able to go if I wasn't with them. Maybe I could have gone, but A, I would have stuck out like a sore thumb, and B, knowing my luck, I would have ended up walking in someone's living room, and that would have been real hard to explain as a foreigner. But I digress. Needless to say, I was glad I had them leading the way. After climbing some stairs, we ended up on the roof of one of the residential buildings that was on the edge of the old city. Now housing local families, I found out it used to be a hotel decades ago. Although not blatantly obvious, after knowing that, little clues would catch my eye that alluded to a time that was once long ago. That's the thing about the old city, and even more so in La Habana in general. Everything you saw around you was an echo of a time when things were much different and now only existed as a memory. It was both mesmerizing and infuriating at the same time. The beauty of the city cannot be overstated enough, but in a lot of cases it comes at the expense of the people who call it home now. Much like the "when life gives you lemons" motto, it doesn't take long to see that Cubanos make the best out of what they do have, as opposed to worrying about what they don't have. By this time, I felt like I'd been walking around the old city for hours, as if I was under some sort of spell. In some ways I was. Between the vibrant, old architecture, the warm, welcoming locals, and the sound of Latin music at every corner, I was really in a trance, the kind you embrace and hope you don't snap out from. As we continued our journey through the old cobblestone streets, we followed the sounds of guitars and clapping that seemed louder than anything I had heard during the day. As the music got closer, I realized what we had stumbled upon, and from there, rhythm ensued. We ended our exploration of the old city on a high note, and after that, I think I danced all the way back to my casa particular. I got ready for the evening and went to go grab some dinner before my night out. I went to a little restaurant that sat on the corner 2 blocks from where I was staying. I had walked by it many times over the previous days, and I finally decided to stop in for a bite. It was a great decision. I ate my dinner quicker than you can say cat in the hat, and then made my way back to the streets, letting my intuition and the sound of music guide me. It wasn't long before I saw a sign for mojitos, and that was the only excuse I needed to go in for a drink. Not gonna lie, I also saw a sign for AC, so maybe that played into my decision as well. A few mojitos in, I decided it was time to venture to my next spot. Like in Nashville, I'm a rooftop bar kind of guy, and it was a great evening for one, so I went and searched for the first place I could find. It didn't take long, and before I knew it, I was sipping drinks with new friends from the rooftops, embracing the night, ready for whatever came next.